afternoon and welcome back. Guess what? It's finale week for RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. We have our final three queens vying for the title of the next queen of Down Under. And this season, making it all the way to the end, Spanky Jackson, Hannah Conda, and the amazing Kween Kong. Now, Kween Kong joins me today to have a chat ahead of the finale as it launches this weekend. Good afternoon, gorgeous. How are you?
Hey, Michael, I'm good. Look, it's been a time, but we're excited, and only a few more days before we get forgotten, and it's on to the next batch.
I don't think we'll be forgetting you quite so quickly just yet.
Yeah.
But it's been a big season, and first of all, congratulations for making it this far, because it was a tough race with a lot of people. How have you felt about the season overall and where you are now?
Oh, look, looking back at it, experiencing it from this side, I'm proud. I'm proud of my journey. I'm proud of my sisters. I'm proud of what we did this season. I feel like we kind of redeemed the franchise, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of toing and froing about one season versus the other, and I think overall the resounding feedback has been that you guys have just absolutely killed it. Let's talk about your journey. Sort of first off, you were one of the ones that have went from the bottom at the very beginning, and now you've soared your way right to the top, with a little bit of ups and downs along the way. How was that, I suppose, working from that struggle to be in the bottom so early, to then have to keep pushing yourself forward to be able to get yourself right to the end?
Yeah, look, I think, walking into it, I think as we saw in episode 1, everyone was like, oh my God, it's Queen, it's Queen, it's Queen. I think for me, not many of the girls have ever really met me off stage. They've seen me on stage and seen videos of me. So obviously they would have this expectation that I'm this big monster ego personality pride, and the reality is that they see that on stage. They don't see the pile of anxiety and shit backstage in the dressing room, trying to duct tape it together to get on stage and deliver a performance. So, I think my journey in the show was really an indication of where I was at then, but also how I really am. I think there's so many complexities to most people that do drag, and I was really happy with how my journey went. I feel like going through it, I just went, look, as soon as we walk into that room, we're all on level playing fields, and whatever happens happens. If I get sent home, to handle it with grace, be humble, and take as many lessons as possible, because it is something that I've wanted to do for years. So yeah, I was happy with the journey. The ride that it was, the roller coaster that it was, getting cut off at the knees and having to redeem myself, and that redemption edit, I feel like by the end of it, I felt really happy. Yeah.
Well, it definitely was a redemption edit, if we'll call it that. And it was great to really see you and your personality shine, and what you said about the grace and humility. I love that. I think we really got you as being our narrator for the season. Watching it through, it's like every season, every episode, it was Kween Kong narrating us through what was happening. And I think that must have taken, I think, a lot of self-reflection and a lot of your energy to be able to be that person that was really sitting back and talking everybody through everything that was happening.
Yeah, I think the thing is, for me, I'm a big communicator, and I think, just with mental health, I think one of the biggest things that I know how to do, that's an important part of my process, is being able to think about something objectively and actually reflect. And so, when I was having those conversations with the story producers, it was really me just trying to get it off my chest, because we don't really have many opportunities to talk, obviously, when we're filming. So when we're on screen, it is what it is. But then after that, we're on ice. So it's like, anytime I was on screen, I was just like, and then this happened, and this happened, and then this happened, and I feel like this happened, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm not going to say I'm wrong, fucker. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was super interesting watching it back.
Now, I felt like there must have been a bit of self-control sometimes that was in place there as well. I can see you're very, very passionate, and I can see that it could have been so easy for you to be much more, I suppose, animated in some of the conversations that you had. And so was there a lot of that where you really felt like I have to process what I'm saying, and I've got to really actually step back more than what you normally would in the real world?
No, to be honest, I feel like that's how I was in the show is pretty much how I am, to be completely honest with you. I think you got words that were massive chunks of context that might have been left on the editor's room's floor. I feel like the way that I handled myself and I carried myself on the show is pretty much how I carry myself in real life. I think Yeah. So I feel like some people might think it was boring, but I am a little bit boring sometimes, and I am very serious. So I don't know, like it's just the way that I do my drag. So I think by the end, rather than filtering myself, I think I was just being really conscious of the information that was given. I was trying to think about what was said to me and like trying to apply the things that I felt like were right, and also trying to figure out what was not right for me as well. It was just such a weird situation to be in, like a real hyper reality that was super difficult to navigate at times. So I do what I do, which is sort of not switch off, just sort of go keep the circle tight, focus on what I can control in this space, and then whatever happens to me outside of this little bubble, it is what it is. Yeah.
I felt like as the one person of color that was in the show for the longest, you seem to bear the burden of, I suppose, having to be in charge of some of those conversations around those issues. And I mean, we'll go to the conversation with Hannah. How was that, having to process that and be part of orchestrating that with those other girls and on that platform?
Yeah, look, I think, like, I wouldn't say it was bearing a burden. I think, the thing about this movement and about activism is that it's heavy work, and I've got big shoulders and I'm good at heavy lifting. So, like outside of the competition, this is the kind of work that I believe in and that I fight for outside of the show. So being able to have these conversations actually was a highlight for me. I think that chat with Hannah, I think if we zoom out of like the two of us as individuals, and we think about ourselves as what we represent, like there's an ally, there's a person of color, like we're literally having a conversation about how we can, exist together in society and work with each other, even when there are mistakes, like how we can process trauma, how can we work together, and hold hand in hand and push forward together. So I think it was definitely a highlight to be able to have those conversations, because I don't feel like we really ever have had to have, or have had the opportunity to have these conversations in other seasons, definitely not in other franchises. I feel like Down Under the season really kind of trailblazed those conversations, and I was super happy to be, a mouthpiece for this movement, because I believe in it passionately.
Oh, we can definitely tell that you're very, very passionate, and I love watching that and getting to be educated and hear those things and know that other people are as well. You mentioned with the chat with Hannah there, you said about her being an ally and working together. Is that so the outcome that you came from that is that you settled with Hannah and recognized her as an ally who's made a mistake?
Definitely, and I think like I'm not accepting an apology on behalf of the communities that were upset, but I am acknowledging that there was a mistake that's been made, and her actions that I've seen, outside of the show before she'd even gotten on the show, she's really made an effort to really do the work, and like there's literal paper trails of all the work she's done. Like she donates to Indigenous communities weekly. Like she goes to all the anti-racism workshops. She's at the rallies with us, marching for equality, and all of these things, like that they go noticed. And so I feel like not only myself as the Queen of Color that was left with her in the room, I think outside of this, there's a community that I represent that all hold space for Hannah Conda, because she is, a beacon of light, a lovely person, and she made a mistake, and she's done the thing of going, well, sorry, and I'm not only just going to say I'm sorry, I'm going to prove that I'm sorry, and it's never going to happen again, and I'm going to make sure that I use my platform to educate people like myself who might not have the understanding or the knowledge, So yeah, I love her. She's my sister. Yeah.
Oh, it's great to hear there was such a positive outcome from that. And that leads me back to an issue that I know was important for you. Was why? Tell me about why you chose to go on Drag Race Down Under season 2. What was it that inspired you, and why you wanted to be there?
It is, after watching season 1 and seeing the way that the cards were dealt, and that's not blaming anyone, production, the cast, it's just how it happened. I feel like in some ways it wasn't a reflection of Down Under drag, but I feel like it definitely has been my experience. Some of the things that we saw around privilege, around, the conversations where we're not even at the table, I went, this is the work that I believe in, this is the work that I do with my drag, and what better way to affect change than by being there to affect the change? And I feel like as much as I had issues with some of the challenges, and and I struggled at sort of letting loose and having fun. I feel like the thing that I wanted to bring to this competition was a real indication of what it means to be a First Nations, World First Nations person of color, and in Australia and New Zealand, and also be an example for people like myself, or be for that 5-year-old boy like myself that might want to be a drag queen or might want to do something like that, and doesn't get to see themselves on TV, and definitely not in the light of excellence. We're always secondary, like a secondary image to a primary image. So it was a big push for me to go, yeah, this is the time, and this is what I believe in, and I'm going to do it. If I fail, hey, it is what it is, but I'm going to do it.
And you did it. You did it very, very well. So in terms of people responding to that, what has the response been like from community to you, to people reaching out? Have you had any of those conversations or messages from younger people or anybody about how they've seen you on the show?
Yeah, it's been overwhelming. I think like I was in Edinburgh for the first 4 weeks of the season, so I was at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and even over there, like you forget how much outward, like how much reach Drag Race has. The most popular TV show across the world, and so people that are watching our franchise as well, like being recognized on the street, and people of color over there seeing me in the festival and going, oh my God, that conversation that you had, or just you being there and the way that you're dealing with things, you responding in a certain way to conflict, and then having to talk us through microaggressions, like all of these conversations. I feel like the communities that I represent that understand the experience are feeling seen and heard and acknowledged, and those that don't necessarily understand, I feel like they're either on the bandwagon or they're not, and if they're not, listen, peace. It is what it is.
Oh, beautiful. It's great to hear you getting so much positive feedback, because I know Drag Race and Drag Race fans can be awful sometimes off screen, and the experience can be so bad for some of the queens. So great to hear you having such a positive experience from that.
Yeah, it's been good. I've been super fortunate, definitely in comparison to some of the other queens. So yeah, we just keep the love going.
Yes. Now, speaking of love and other queens, I'm curious to know, where did we leave off with yourself and beautiful Beverly? You had a little bit of a biff.
Well, look, like when I look back at it now, Baby is my little sister, and I think if I think about the circumstances I was under, and the pressures that I was feeling, I can only imagine what she was feeling, and so obviously in a moment where we are in a TV show where we are competing against each other, we're also like stressed, we're feeling anxious. There's a lot of things that happen, and then we react really, harshly. There was lots of lessons for myself watching it back. I love her, and I love that we got to have that conflict, because it gave us a greater understanding of how to be sisters to each other. And I think the biggest thing for me is being able to not only battle each other, and then we hugged it out and then resolved. And I'm super excited to see where we go moving forward. Like, I think we're going to make a little duo act about like a Mortal Kombat duo act, which would be super camp.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Which would be chaotic and as crazy as that lip sync. But yeah, it's super exciting. And I think the biggest thing about Beverly is, if she's at that level now at 21, 21 years old, and she's at that level now, I can only imagine what she's going to be like when she gets to my age, when she gets to Minnie's age. She's going to be unstoppable. So I'm a big fucking huge fan of Beverly Kills, and I will be a supporter for her, to my dying day. Love her.
That's beautiful here. And you reminded me again, that fucking lip sync. Lip sync with the two of you. My God, like, what was going on? Is that what we get from a normal Kween Kong performance? Those tricks and stunts.
That was half the arsenal. I was just like, listen, we're battling. Listen, it's gonna come, and people are thinking it's chaotic. I'm like, well, listen, you struggle to do a cartwheel. Like, I am just gonna keep throwing myself around because I get paid really well to do it.
It was something else, and I loved it. I was a big fan of that. I said to Bev, like, I thought there was about 3 times there where I thought one of you was going to take the other out. Like, it was almost blood on the runway.
I also, like, in my mind, I was like, I feel like we're really going. I was like, maybe this is going to be a double save. I was actually going, this could, like, and even watching it back, like, I was like, oh shit, girl, like, Baby was holding her own, and I knew she would because she's amazing. So I'm like, yeah, it went either way. It was super chaotic. It was super fun. We had a massive embrace afterwards. I felt really proud of her and proud of myself. And yeah, I'm excited for what the future holds for the two of us.
Well, I can't wait to see you do a little duo show like the Two girls at the end of Chicago, whatever that was.
Did you see that TikTok where someone like put the Barbies in like the dryer? It's just like tumbling in the dryer, and like the lip sync between Queen Kong and Beverly. The TikToks and the memes have been so good. Like I live.
I did not see that one. We're gonna have to look it up because that sounds too good to miss.
Oh, so funny.
That was obviously a highlight for you there. But tell me else, what was some other highlights from you for the show? Some of the stuff you just kicked ass and you're like, fuck, I'm so glad I did that.
But you know, my biggest highlight probably had to be Babs. You know, working with Spanky, working with Hannah, and I think you see it on screen. Like we really developed a sisterhood pretty much right off the bat. I think we started really just connecting, and I think when we got to that challenge, it really solidified a sisterhood. And I think for myself, I've struggled to find sisters, you know, in drag, especially in Australia, you know, because it's the dynamics and the value system is completely different to my value system coming from New Zealand drag. You know, I think me and Spanky knock it off because we come from the same drag family. You know, we have the same aunties and mums. And so I think Hannah is also of that ilk where she's like a very much an old school queen, and she understands, you know, the rite of passage of being, you know, roughed up and hazed getting into drag. And so I think the for the first time in a while, I feel like I'm in a place with queens that are at the same level and people that I trust and respect. And yeah, it was a real highlight. Putting that song together, that challenge did not feel like work. We were just being dickheads, and then we won the challenge. And I'm super excited for everyone to see the finale because it was just fun. Like, in fact, like, you know, producers are going, we need more drama, and we're like, well, hide the wigs or like hide the costumes because we're just having fun today. Like, let's have a drink, let's get drunk. Maybe then we will give you drama, but none of that happened. So it was fun friendship and community.
I mean, the finales always are. They're always about fun and celebration, and I think there's so much less negativity, and that's what I'm looking forward to for the finale, is because that's exactly what we do. We're there to celebrate these three amazing queens that have got to the end, and it was all three of you from the one girl group all made it to the end as well.
Oh my god, so iconic! And we get to do the Rue track. I know that's not a spoiler because she said it in the trailer, but we get to do the Rue track, which means we have 2 tracks for the Babs. Listen, cute.
Almost ready for an EP. Oh well, I love it. Now I suppose, how do you feel going into the final 3? There's 3 of you. Somebody's got to win. Do you feel like I got this in the bag, or you feel like this is anybody's game?
Oh, babe, I feel like it's anybody's game, to be completely honest with you. You know, I want it mostly because of like what it would mean for Down Under drag, like in terms of crowning another queen, well, our queen of color, point blank period. You know, I think what I represent in terms of the future of drag is leadership, leading by example, humility, grace, and, you know, being lateral, working with people and not. I think the thing about the journey, and the thing looking back at it, I go, you know, you're never going to be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in the complete alignment to go for your dreams. You know, you're probably never going to be ready for things. And more often than not, we go, oh, I'm just going to wait like a year and lose a bit of weight for this before I do that. Or I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop myself from doing this so that I can do this in 3 months. I'm going, I just had to pick up the pieces with what I had. I put myself in the workroom and I just like trusted the process and hoped that I would make it through. And I feel like that's a good example for how we need to process things moving forward. You know, it's not about trying to be the best versions of ourselves. It's trying to be the best with what we have. So yeah, I would love to have that crown just for that purpose and that purpose alone. But again, I feel like it's anyone's bag. You know, Spanky is a fucking force. She has obliterated the competition. Hannah is perfection. Like, she is perfect. You know, every time she walked down that runway, every time she put her makeup on, I was just like, this bitch, like, where's the airbrush? Like, she just looks so just amazing, immaculate. So yeah, we all represent so many different things, and I'm excited to see, you know, which one of us, you know, gets to take that crown home, and I'll be supporting either way.
Yeah, well, let's definitely set it up. The precedent's been set from last year that it is anybody's game, and it's not a numbers game of who's won the most challenges. It's literally going to be down to who's the best bitch in the eyes of Mama Rue, and who she decides is going to take you through to the end.
Yeah, totally. Fingers crossed, fingers and toes, because I would love to buy a KFC with that $50,000. I'm kidding.
KFC is my favorite food group, so I agree with you on that.
Oh, well, listen, let's go to KFC on Saturday.
Yes, all right, I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes, please.
Right, so we've got to get going because I could talk to you for hours. Tell me, what is the next thing that we're going to see from Queen Kong, regardless of whether you win or not? What have we got? You got a tour? Have you got a single? You got an album, a dance show? What are you going to bring to the runway for us?
Well, baby, I've got a lot planned for everyone. I think one of the things that I will talk about, because I'm just going to let the season go and then do the reveal. One of the things I'm working on the most, and it was the beauty of being on the show and seeing how many people within the BIPOC community are starting to rise and feel like they have, you know, the chops to get on stage and get into season 3, season 4. As I'm going to be curating a show called Club Village, which I'm bringing to World Pride. I'm going to be helping curate the First Nations hub at World Pride. We booked Adelaide Fringe because I'm going to be an ambassador next year, which will be cute. And I'm taking it through the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So I'm going to be accumulating a bunch of World First Nations excellence and, you know, using my platform to really amplify the voices of the communities that I love and represent. So that's one thing that people can keep an eye out for. It's going to be next level. Yeah.
I can't wait. Sounds like you've got plenty in the bag, and I can't wait to see it. So thank you very much for joining me. I can't wait to see, fingers crossed for everything for you for the finale. And hopefully we'll be chatting to you next week once we find out who has taken home the crown.
Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you so much for joining me. And for everybody else at home, make sure you click the buttons down below to subscribe. I'm going to be back over the next few days with Hannah Conda and Spanky Jackson as we chat to them about their experience leading up to the grand finale. And of course, I'll be chatting to the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under Season 2 next week. As always, I'm Michael James. I will see you next time.